Yeah, let's get into it. Steely Dan records. There were 9 studio records, starting with "Can't Buy a Thrill" and ending with "Everything Must Go." Best, worst is all subjective, of course. This is really favorite or influential, however you choose to rate it. But of course, there are objectively correct answers, which are basically whatever JP says. So, hey JP,
Oh,
what's
really?
the
I'm it?
yeah yeah what's
All right.
JP's not used to like having his opinion respected.
Yeah, I'm not.
This is like totally new experience for him. What's the number 9 album? Of course, there's Steely Dan. They're all great. What's the most dispensable? What's the one that you would not take on a desert island if you had to take 8 Steely Dan records? What's the one you leave behind?
So this is not even a hard question
No,
for
it's
me
not.
anyway. The only correct answer is Everything Must Go.
Yeah.
The worst album in the catalog.
Okay. Is there anything to say about it? Like any redeeming qualities? Any reason somebody should listen to it, or any comment about why it's so bad from your perspective?
So for me, and last time we did this, we had to pick the best song and the worst song on
Yeah.
every record, right? So for this
Yeah.
one, I really struggled because I don't think that there's any good songs at all on this one.
Okay.
I think they're all bad songs, and maybe one is worse than the rest of them. I don't know. To me, this album sounds like I feel like Steely Dan in the '90s, right, or maybe post Gaucho, right? Sort of hit this groove where they got a sound, or like Donald Fagen got a sound, starting on Kamakiriad, like production style, the rest of it that carried through the records from there on out. And this record definitely has that same production style, that same sort of slick post Gaucho sound. But aside from that, there's not really, for me, there's not really much redeeming quality to this record at all. None of these songs have a hook that like makes me walk away singing it.
I forget if Anu said this to me or if I read it somewhere, but someone said something along the lines of, you know, Everything Must Go exists solely so that it's really easy for any Steely Dan fan to identify their least favorite Steely Dan record.
I wish I could take credit for that, Rich, but I did not say that.
All right. So then I guess the next question though is does that mean that Two Against Nature is number 8 for you, or is there a different number 8? Because I have a lot to say about that. I also want to get back to the best song, worst song thing. But
Well,
yeah, it's
so
number 8.
I think it's definitely not number 8.
It's not number 8. Okay. Because like, so, a million articles have been written about, best to worst Steely Dan album rankings, or worst to best, either way. And then like Reddit forum thread questions, like it comes up like, feels like it comes up every 15 seconds in the Steely Dan Reddit. And there are a lot of Two Against Nature partisans. People are just like, this is like, among their best work, like this and Gaucho, or, to those people, because, those
Right.
aesthetically are kind of, Anyway, and I that's not my opinion, but I'm not saying it's an unreasonable opinion, but I would want to hear more from someone who had that to say. But I want to know, what's your number 8 record then? What's the one what's before Everything Must Go came out? What was their worst record?
The second worst record is Pretzel Logic, in my opinion.
Really? Oh wow, yeah. So a lot of Steely Dan fans feel that way. I discovered in the Reddit forums. I love Pretzel Logic, and so that's okay. I get it though, because like it's really short, and some of the songs kind of feel a little weak, but the high points are so high for me. So what's up with Pretzel Logic? Why is that their second worst? What's your take?
None of those songs really hit for me. Just
Really?
feels like a hodgepodge of mid songs to me.
Okay, so Ricky
it
Don't Lose
it
That
always
Number
has.
doesn't do it for you?
Ricky Don't Lose That Number is fine, but it's like, for me at this point anyway, there's like a whole segment of Steely Dan songs that are so overplayed they don't count for me anymore.
Sure, I've heard it
Right?
too
So
much.
like
Sure,
Ricky Don't Lose That Number, great song, but like I don't listen to it anymore.
gotcha. How about
so
Night
for
by
me-
Night?
Night by Night, if I had to pick the best song on the record, it would be Night by
Okay.
Night.
All right, yeah, it's a good song.
Really good song.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else were you going to say though? I interrupted you. I'm sorry. You're gonna. talk about the record.
No, that's pretty much it. I mean,
Okay.
the songs are all there's songs in there that are fine, right? Like Any Major Dude's fine, Barrytown's
Sure.
fine, like East St. Louis Toodaloo, don't really need that one. Through with
I-
Buzz.
So, yeah, those two I love. I love the piano solo on East St. Louis Toodaloo, and I love the talk box as substituting for a plunger mute. I just love that. Anu looks like he does not love that. We're gonna let Anu talk it a little bit. Through with Buzz is incredible because a lot of people hate it. It's super short, feels like a throwaway. They don't like the strings. A lot of people. To me, it feels like they packed everything into like 90 seconds. And they clearly put a lot of time and attention into making that 90 seconds really great. And but I think they agree with you because like Walter Becker in some interviews said about Through with Buzz said something like the less said about that song the better. And I do, and of course as with a lot of things, and as comes up with Steely Dan on more than one occasion, there's things that have not aged well and make us cringe in 2025. So maybe he's a fairy. That line is really not great. But anyway, but I love Through with Buzz and the title track I love too. Even though, and that's another one. Like I would I love Distort the Southland, a traveling minstrel show. It's like that means you want to do blackface. Like what's going on with that? But anyway, but putting that aside, hey Anna, did you listen to these records?
Yes.
Oh,
I listened
let's
to
hear
all of them.
All of them. So you listen to Everything Must Go.
Yes.
Is it? Would you agree that it's the worst?
Well, so I will also start this off by saying that my lovely wife, who has very particular tastes in music, Steely Dan is one of her favorite bands, and it was such an atypical thing in her taste. It was one of the reasons I knew she was the one. I am one of the people who might argue that, much like the Beatles and Paul McCartney, Walter Becker and Fagan died at the end of the 80s, and there were these replacements that they brought in who kept making records. It's hard for me to consider either Everything Must Go or Two Against Nature as Steely Dan records because they are in the 21st century and there is something about them that is missing the magic. And it may just be that they are literally out of their time at that point, or that they had become so established or whatever. Both of those records to me feel like Steely Dan on autopilot. And they're fine, right? They're totally fine. But I have had I bought both of those records when they came out, and I have never, ever said, oh man, you know what I want to hear? Any one of the songs on those records. I would actually put Two Against Nature as number 9, because the only memorable thing on it is that one of the songs was the basis for a screenplay for a bad comedy starring, somebody back in whatever, Cousin Dupree.
Cousin Dupree.
Wait, you think that's worse than Everything Must Go?
Well, you'll like this, JP. The reason that I put Everything Must Go slightly higher is when I think of Everything Must Go, I think of commuting to work with you and you singing the things I miss the most. And that
Me?
song was, yeah. When we used to commute to work, you would be singing about my Audi TT. So
That's interesting.
So that one scores slightly higher because I
Because
have
of
fond
me.
memories.
I love that.
Of listening to that song with you.
I love that.
But it's not like the other thing that makes this kind of difficult is that
Well, hold on. That's like the second song or the third song
Yeah.
on that record?
second song on the record.
Did we turn it off after that, or like what the hell was happening?
Can't recall if that was like an MP3 or if you were just skipping around or if it was one of those things where you would listen to that and you'd be like, dude, I can't listen to this anymore. Let's put on some Patty Griffin or whatever.
It had to be that. Yeah.
But one of the things that makes talking about or ranking and filing Steely Dan so challenging is that even when they're bad, they're pretty good and they're very consistent, right? Like it's a pretty, from my perspective, it's a pretty tight grouping for the most part. And even their mid songs are way better than like 99% of anybody else's best songs. The craft is great and everything. It's just that I find both Everything Must Go and Two Against Nature to just be like, whatever. I'd rather listen to any other record in their catalog. And some of that has to do with, my own history and being much more familiar with those previous records and them blowing my mind. When the 21st century records came out, I was just like, this is exactly what I expected them to sound like. There's nothing surprising, but the lyrics are less dangerous, less mysterious. It's fine, It's just inessential.
So did you ever listen to Kamakiriad?
Yeah.
To me, like, these things really flow out of Kamakiriad, and I loved Kamakiriad. I thought that, like, I really got into that record. But Two Against Nature sounds to me like a continuation of that, which is why
for
it worked
sure.
for me.
But the difference for me is that, first of all, Kamakiriad was at least nominally a Donald Fagen solo album, and it also nominally had a concept around it, which for me made it more interesting. And again, it was much earlier than either of these two records. I mean, I'm not going to begrudge Steely Dan for making these albums. It's just that since I listened to them after I bought them, I've never wanted to pull them out again until I went through and listened this time around. And as is often the case, there's some stuff I heard where I was like, all right, well, this is slightly better than I remember, but for the most part, it's still just like, yeah, I don't care.
What about you, Rich?
Well, so you had mentioned, like, last episode we were talking about Police albums. We had, like, I asked everybody what the best and worst songs were, or maybe it was just the best. I don't remember, but as I was listening through the first 7 records, which I'm much more familiar with than the last 2, I couldn't really do it. Like, like I'm too close to it. You know what I mean? Like the Police, I love the Police, but like the Police's music was never central to my identity, or whereas like Steely Dan is really music that I have consciously and unconsciously tried to incorporate and emulate. You guys remember playing Hipster Bedhead song, right? And like that was that was everything about that was trying to I wanted people to hear that song and go, oh, this is a Steely Dan homage or parody or something, and hopefully I succeeded on some level, but like I've never done that for the Police, and it's not I listen to a lot of the Police. I listen to a lot of Sting's solo stuff. I really it's influential, but it's not part of me the way this music is. Yeah. Even the stuff I listen to more, and even things that like I've tried to and so I can't favorites, like my favorite song on Can't Buy a Thrill or whatever, like it's going to change like minute to minute. I could try to sort all the songs into tiers. These are my favorite 4 or 5, and these 3 or 2 don't really do it for me most days, and then the rest are but like I can't pick a favorite. And so I'm not going to ask anybody else to, but feel free to.
For me, I went through, before I even started this thing, I was like, all right, so I've listened to these, like you, I've listened to these records a million times. Like, so just based on, if I had to rank these things without listening to anything, let's do that first. And then I'll listen to each one of these things and see if my ranking changes.
Okay.
And it really didn't change. Except after you said we need to listen to these other 2 records. And I was like, oh. Where am I going to fit these things in?
I said it was your choice. I said I assumed we're going to listen to all 9, but if you want to stop, if you want to say it's just the 70s and I think Gaucho was 1980, but just that output, that's fine. But it was up to you. I didn't do that to you. But but anyway, okay. So the rankings didn't change, or
Two Against Nature. They didn't really change.
Okay.
I had to jam those other 2 records in there. Okay. And Everything Must Go is clearly easily placeable.
Yeah, and then
but Two Against Nature, I had to think about it a little bit.
So what ended up at number 7? If Pretzel Logic is number 8, what's number 7?
Number 7 is Can't Buy a Thrill.
Really? Wow.
For me it is, and it's weird because Evan, right, my son.
Yeah.
It's one of his top 3 albums of all time, which I'm proud as a parent that like Steely Dan's in the list, right? But like I literally for his birthday, I just got him the vinyl of Can't Buy a Thrill. He thinks that album rules. For me, it's like it doesn't sound like a Steely Dan record. It's kind of like I don't know what it sounds like. It sounds like that song, like Dancing in the Moonlight that I sent to you.
Yeah, the King Harvest song. Yeah.
Like that song could totally be on this. It sounds like it came off from Can't Buy a Thrill. Like
Yeah,
to me,
although
that's sort of
harmonically, it doesn't to me because like if I'm not mistaken, "Dance in the Moonlight" I think is the same chord sequence over and over and over again. I don't think it ever changes. I think the chorus is the same as the verse and things like that, and they don't really. I mean, like although there is a lot of, I mean, obviously the harmony on "Can't Buy a Thrill" is not as sophisticated on some songs as their later like any song on Asia.
it's got like a 1971 sound, I guess. That is
Yeah,
not.
okay.
It's not Steely Dan. It's like it's got glimmers of Steely Dan in it.
Yeah.
Right. But there's like this other dude singing on a couple of songs. Like that's weird. Like Steely Dan for me. If Donald Fagen's not singing, I don't know that I call that Steely Dan. Even Walter Becker. Like the worst song on the worst record is the Walter Becker song. Right.
The one with Walter Becker vocals.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Real stinker.
So yeah, so on "Can't Buy a Thrill," I do find that the hits, "Do It Again" and "Reelin' in the Years," they're good.
Yeah.
They're really good. They're super solid, but they're not great. Like I mean, or they're like they would be my I'll listen to that and be happy tier, but they're not in the like for me the ones that really put over the top are "Only a Fool Would Say That," "Fire in the Hole." I really like "Change of the Guard." I like "Midnight Cruiser." Even "Kings." I mean, like I can't pick but like there's
Dirty
a lot
Work.
Dirty
Yeah,
Work. I
another
put in the
classic.
middle. Yeah,
Really?
Dirty Work's good, but I agree that like David Palmer has a fine voice, but what? Why is he singing?
Yeah. Well, and I feel about this record very similar to how I felt about the first Police record, which is like you can see why the record company was interested. There's some interesting stuff on it, but it's kind of protoplasmic. It's like it's not fully formed yet, and it is much more a prisoner of its time, as JP was saying. Like it sounds like a record from 1972 or whatever. And the fact that they do have this ringer that they brought in for 5 tracks because Fagen was insecure about his voice. The songs I think are all pretty strong, and it sounds like Steely Dan, if maybe not at their best, and they had a couple of hits, but this is my number 7 as well, basically just because it's like, this is not, they haven't locked in yet. It's very promising, and if this had been the only record they ever made, it would have been one of those things where everyone's like, man, check out this really rad, weird record from the early 70s. Right. But they would go on to make much better records that took these same ideas much further.
I'll certainly agree that they have made much more Steely Dan records than this one. This is like probably the least Steely Dan of the Steely Dan.
It's the most rock, I think, that they did, for better or for worse, and production wise, they're still it's nice sounding, but by Dan standards, it's like way too gimmicky with the effects and all those sorts. It's not super clean yet, but it has a nice edge to it, and it has a couple of great songs on it, as all their records do. So it's like, it's fine. It's just, again, of all of the records, I'll listen to this one before I listen to the other two, but I very seldom go, ooh, I want to hear "Can't Buy a Thrill." Yeah. My brother, who I think you guys have met before, he's a very talented musician. I just saw him last weekend. He told me this is his favorite Steely Dan record, and it's the only one that he goes back and listens to.
Yeah, and I guess we have to, since you mentioned Dirty Work, we have to mention Brooklyn. And now that I've mentioned it, we can move on.
It's a good song. But it's not but Donald Fagen's not singing it, so it's ruined.
Yeah. I mean, and David Palmer in particular has a very non-Donald voice. It's a fine voice in other contexts, I'm sure, but it's like noticeably not Donald. Whereas like "Midnight Cruiser" is sung by Jim Hodder, the drummer, Hodder, I'm not sure. I think it's Hodder, but his voice sounds kind of Donald Fagen-ish to me. Like it's a much more compatible fit, I think.
What we ought to do? We ought to figure out how to get Donald Fagen AI and change all these songs over so that Donald Fagen's singing. I bet I like this record a whole lot more.
So what's number 6?
Well, hold on. We're not doing the worst and the best songs on these records.
Oh, you can.
So what do you guys think is the worst song on this record?
I can't do it. How about you, Anna?
Really?
maybe once you say it, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's it. But I don't think so. I don't think
Man,
there's
I don't
a weak
know.
song.
I mean, it's again, it's very tightly clustered for me because it's much easier for me to say that I think "Do It Again" and "Dirty Work" are outstanding. Those would be my two favorite songs. I think "Reelin' in the Years" is really good. It's just I'm burnt on it, and my wife hates that song. She's like, that's her least favorite Steely Dan song. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a one that I dislike on this record because other than "Do It Again" and "Dirty Work," they're all just kind of like, it's fine.
How about you, JP?
Oh, Michael. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, you don't like Turn That Heartbeat Over Again?
If I had to pick
okay.
one, I went through in each one of these records and I picked if I had to pick my favorite and I had to pick my least favorite. And it's harder for Steely Dan. I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, again, all the songs that have been played a million times are like automatically rejected for being the best song in my head at this point. But yeah, that would, if I had to pick one, that would be the one
That'd be the worst one.
on the record. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely think of like great things about that song, but you got to pick one. If you have to pick a song, you got to pick something. So, what's the best one? What's the best song?
For me, it's actually "Fire in the Hole," I think.
Really? Okay, I love Fire in the Hole. I love the piano on it so much. And yeah, why did you pick Fire in the Hole?
Because it sounds like a Steely Dan song, and maybe it's because Fagen's singing it, But
And
yeah,
Fagan
and
singing it,
it's not played out.
Yeah, it's not played out. Fagan sings it. It's one of the more Steely Dan songs on their least Steely Dan record. That's 7, 8, and 9. So we got what's number 6? What slots in just ahead of that?
Number 6 for me is "Countdown to Ecstasy."
Really?
Yep.
My gosh! So Two Against Nature is going to be above Countdown to Ecstasy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for me, "Countdown to Ecstasy's got some decent songs. Nothing really super stands out. But they sound like they're starting to really become Steely Dan at this point.
And Anna, you're nodding in agreement.
Yeah. It's number 6 for me as well. It's got, from my perspective, two really standout songs like
Which are?
"My Old School" and "Gold Teeth." But I'm somewhat partial to "My Old School" because he talks about never going back to Annandale. It's not the Annandale that is close to where I'm from, but that always gladdens my heart to hear that. And for all the same reasons JP said, it's like, this is a more Steely Dan record than "Can't Buy a Thrill." This was the record they made right after it. It sounds a little better. The focus is coming in a little bit more, but aside from those two songs, the rest of it is just sort of like, it's sort of like how I feel about a lot of, like, I don't know, Creedence Clearwater Revival stuff, where it's like, yeah, it's fine. It sounds like, it's Steely Dan doing Steely Dan, and I'll put it on and I'll leave it, and there's nothing that's going to make me jump up and go, oh, hell no, and skip the track. But those two songs are standouts, and the rest of it's okay. It's again not a record where I'm like, oh, I need to sit down and listen to that.
Huh. What are your standout tracks, JP?
So, again, like you could say, and Anu, I like your choices, but like Bodhisattva, everyone's heard that a million times, disqualified for me, right? So, for me, the ones that I think I like the best, it's between Razor Boy and Boston Rag.
Boston Rag is incredible and doesn't get enough credit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. So, it's both of those songs, I love both of those songs. Yeah. Even Kathy Bavarian knows that those are the best songs in the record.
So, that's right. Oh yeah, Kathy. Yeah. Now that you mentioned Showbiz Kids, that's like, sometimes I love that song and sometimes I hate that song. Hate's a strong word, but like, it's just like super repetitive. It doesn't go anywhere or do anything in my mind. But I'm curious if either of you listen to the Super Furry Animals tune that samples it. It's called "The Man Don't Give a F." I find that tune enjoyable. Lots of just repeatedly Donald Fagen singing the F word, but also "King of the World" is really weird and kind of proggy in its way.
Yeah, it's got that 70s Chuck Woolery game show music in it. Yeah.
And like, I'm surprised by this, but of course, I could see putting all the other albums ahead of it. Except I'm really curious where Two Against Nature is going to end up. Okay, so that's number 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's number 5?
Number 6. Number 5 is Two Against Nature.
Okay, why does it fit there? Let's hear it.
Why does it fit there? Let me look at my list. It fits there because the other 4 are in my opinion, the best Steely Dan albums. And
Sure.
so this one, it follows the formula. It follows the Kamakiriad formula. And let me look at my notes. I think, I don't know, all these songs are hooky to me. Like when I went back and replayed this song, every one of these songs had something that I remembered, or because like you guys, this isn't a record I listened to like the rest of the records, but I knew every one of these songs and I liked every one of these songs and I replayed it, and I remember kind of liking it when I heard it the first time too.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
number 6.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, there are like Steely Dan fans who are like Two Against Nature is an underrated masterpiece. Like it's nearly as good as Gaucho and that kind of thing. And I feel like I need to sit down and spend a little more time with it than I have, but I'm not 100% sure that's going to be rewarded. I don't know, but I am going to spend some more time with it. Okay, number 5. Wow. How about do you have any comments on this, Anu?
I mean, as far as Two Against Nature, I'll go back and listen to it yet again. But, the main thing for me is just like, it's okay. It's okay. My number 5 choice was Pretzel Logic.
Okay.
And it is, Can't Buy Thrill, Countdown to Ecstasy, Pretzel Logic. It's a pretty clear progression. It's better. And it sounds pretty good. I think the best song on it is Any Major Dude Will Tell You.
Really? Okay.
And yeah. And part of why I really like that, like, Steely Dan's one of those bands that, like, I would discourage people from looking up the lyrics online. It's way better, or reading any analysis of them. Part of what I really love about the band is that their lyrics are kind of cryptic and slangy in a very particular way. It's like they've got their own language and stuff. And it's very evocative, but it's particularly evocative if you make up your own meanings. And one of the things that I also like about the band is that in general, they're kind of arch and icy. They are not a band that's going to write, "Ooh, I love you, baby," right? Unless it's in quotes. And they're kind of like smirking the entire time. And that's also part of why I think Donald Fagen was such a much better singer than the other guy, because there's something about his voice that leans into that. But from my perspective, the sole exception to that archness and that emotional distance in their catalog is this song, Any Major Dude Will Tell You. And it is basically the equivalent of your friend who is not particularly emotional, seeing that you're having a tough time, throwing his arm around you and going, "Hey, are you okay? It's going to be all right, man." and the surprise of that, the heartfelt nature of that, it's beautiful. It's a phenomenal song. I love that it's coming from them, and just fantastic. Otherwise, it's another one of those albums where it's like, it's a good Steely Dan record. It's better than Countdown to Ecstasy, Can't Buy Thrill, but number 5.
I love Any Major Dude, but I'm surprised that anybody else does. As like really, I mean, like it, sure, but like, it's one of their best songs. Like, it's the first Steely Dan song I ever covered in a band. It was a duo. Joel and I played it in college at a. But anyway, regarding not looking up lyrics, I'm not going to disagree with you. But just as an alternate perspective, this is a book that JP got me last year as a gift, and it's incredible. And in fact, there's a chapter on Any Major Dude, but I won't ruin the song for you by talking about it. JP, best and worst songs on Two Against Nature, your number 5 record.
Oh, let's see.
You don't have to do it, by the way, because I'm not doing it.
So the best, I guess, would probably be Cousin Dupree. Okay. Although I like Gaslighting Abby. I kind of, none of them super stands out as being the best song. Different from some of the other records. I think West of Hollywood's probably the least favorite for me.
Okay.
They've got a habit of sometimes ending the record on a clunker. This is one of those records.
Or if it's not a clunker, it's a song that shouldn't be the last song.
Yeah.
I feel like I would agree with that, actually. I don't know what should be the last song instead of the songs they always pick, but it always feels like that wasn't it.
That's the kind of subversive shit that they love to do, though, right? Like, they're like, oh, yeah, here you go. Here's your last song on the record.
Pretzel Logic might be the only one where it's like, oh, yeah, that song made sense as a last song, but it's like it's not a song I come back to, so maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, okay, number 4.
Is it number 4 we're on? Or number 4. Number 4 for me is Katie Lied.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Wait, what? I don't know. Why are you surprised? Where is that for you? Is it much higher?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get there.
It's a great record. It's all the songs are really hooky. They definitely sounds like Steely Dan, like front to back. They got good harmonies on it, and Michael McDonald finally shows up. Right, it's our first taste of Michael McDonald on a number of songs, and so I just actually went and saw the Doobies last night with Evan. The Doobies are still like, if you get a chance to see them, they're solid. All those guys can still sing, can still play. Michael McDonald is still Michael McDonald. Good show.
I watched them perform. They had 2 songs uploaded when they were on Colbert, the Late Show, and when I was reading Michael McDonald's memoir last year, and I was therefore listening to a lot of Doobie Brothers, and I listened to the music, and Wanda misheard the lyrics as "you stupid music." So I put that on. So I ended up putting that on all our road trip playlists and everything. She's always in the car like, "Whoa, whoa, you stupid music." And yeah, just wanted to share that. I don't know why. Okay, so Michael McDonald finally shows up on Katie Lied and is doing like Rose Darling and everything else. Yeah,
he makes everything better. So. Which is why he was so
except
for
the Doobie Brothers, according to some Mach 1 Doobie Brothers fans. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think every song's great on this one. The best song, I would say, I mean, really every song except like Black Friday's a little bit tired, right? I've heard that too many times, maybe. But everything else, except maybe Chain Lightning, not my favorite. Yeah, the rest of them are all great tunes. I especially like the Michael McDonald ones. I think if I had to pick a best song on this record, it's Dr. Wu.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's JP's number 4. What slots in for number 4 for you, Anna?
Royal Scam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wow. I put in Royal Scam at number 4. It's this is where we're getting into the real tight clustering of great records, and for me, it's like, if we were doing this a couple months from now, or if I had a couple drinks in me or something, I might shuffle the next couple around a little bit. But for me, it's like, what's outstanding about Royal Scam? Well, this for me is one of the like 4 like classic, this is what Steely Dan's all about records. Yeah. There are great songs on it. Kid Charlemagne for me is the standout track. It's the one that I never skip on this record, the defining thing. But it's also got Fez and Green Earrings and Caves of Altamira, and this is also one of the. It's a pretty good sounding record. It's not as great sounding as some of the others, like especially if you're kind of A-Bing them as you're jumping around. Like it sounds good, but it's got half of it's super strong, and it sounds like mature Steely Dan. By now it's like 1976, and they know what they're doing. But there are other records that I think are better. So this one ends up at a very tightly clustered number 4. But
yeah, I agree with the tight clustering on these 4, the 4 that are left on both of your lists, which are well, we know which 4 they are. But Royal Scam for me is usually where you put it on. Some days it doesn't, like it moves around, like you're saying, but it's usually at the bottom. And the reason why are probably the same reasons why other people would have it at like number 1 or number 2, which is that it is the most guitar driven of those 4 records. So if you like guitar, you're probably going to rank it higher than it's going to get a boost. It's also the most consistent sound. Like I think Bernard Purdie plays drums on nearly everything. 7 of the 9 tracks are Bernard Purdie on drums, and it just kind of has, and Larry Carlton's on, like, it feels like every song. And if it's not every song, it's almost every song. kind of feels the same for me with Paul Griffin. His piano seems like it's all over it when there's piano. Again, I could be wrong. But yeah, it's the most consistent. So whereas like a lot of the later records, although they had a consistent, like broadly speaking, production sound, the individual tracks had more variety. Like there's horns on Kid Charlemagne, but I don't think of any of the songs as being like, you know, big horn section songs the way My Old School is, or the way, you know, Deacon Blues is to me. And maybe that's just perception. Maybe they're, you know, maybe, you know, someone's probably like, you know, what are you talking about? This song has, you know, tons of horns. So for me, like if you like what they're doing on, and I love Kid Charlemagne. I love Larry Carlton's guitar solo. Who doesn't? Every pure-hearted person does. But if that is the apotheosis of what you're looking for in a Steely Dan song, then probably the rest that record as a whole really hits for you. But for me, I really dig the variety a bit more and the horns a bit more and toning down the guitar heroics. I love, like I said, I love the Kid Charlemagne guitar solo, and you know, Night by Night we mentioned earlier from Pretzel Logic has, you know, I think it's Jeff Skunk Baxter doing that one, but a lot of the same kind of like, you know, rock heroic, and I love that. But you know, like I really, you know, when I think of like the Steely Dan guitar stuff that I prefer in the context of a Steely Dan song as a whole, I tend to gravitate more towards like the Denny Diaz kind of like, you know, modal jazz kind of stuff,
electric
like
sitar,
you know,
stuff.
Well, the sitar on Do It Again is fine, but I was thinking more the guitar solos. There's two of them on Asia, the title track. Like before the Wayne Shorter stuff comes in, that's Denny Diaz doing all the you know, that stuff. Yeah. So anyway, I'm rambling way too long about why Royal Scout. I'm gonna have to edit this down very aggressively. Number 3. What's number 3, JP?
Number 3 for me is Gaucho.
Okay. What's the deal there?
What is the deal with Gaucho? It's like it's
I
super
agree
polished.
with you, but, but yeah,
Right, it's super polished. Like every song on it's and I guess they spent the most time on this one. Like, you know, they were trying to make it perfect. It sounds like it.
Yeah, and it's the one where they started using like a primitive drum machine, drum loop sequencing kind of deal, and that to my ear anyway, and I imagine everybody else really, you can hear that. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super polished. I mean, I think it's a great way for them to go out, frankly. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's sort of like the Police. They left on a high note, then they came back with like, you know, arguably lower notes. But yeah, great record. Hot, and I, you know, we're getting to the place where these are really hard to sort of like pick a favorite, right?
There's no wrong answer.
Clustered together. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like once you get to these like top 4-ish or so, there's no wrong answer. Any one of them could be the best, in my opinion. It's
Totally.
much like trying to pick their songs, which is why you are the source of truth on this one, JP, and not me. But best song, worst song?
Worst song's Third World Man. Best is like either Glamour Profession or Gaucho. Again, discounting Hey 19 and overplayed. Babylon Sisters overplayed.
Yeah. That's my challenge with Hey 19, overplayed. That's why I would put it worst, not because it's the worst song, but because...
But in some ways, it is the quintessential Steely Dan song.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, if you were just going to play one song for somebody to get them to understand what that band is all about, it's Hey 19. Right?
I can think of other songs, but Hey 19 is a solid choice, for
I
sure.
mean, I would throw it up there and be like,
Peg
if there was only one, it's probably the one that I would pick. And Gaucho comes in at number 3 for me as well.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, this was the last album that they made. They made it in 1980. This is where, I don't know if it was just drugs or OCD or whatever, but they really just went nuts trying to make it perfect. And it, on the one hand, relatively speaking, it's perfect. On the other hand, part of what I think makes them such a compelling band is that it's real people playing, right? And there is not an imperfection, but a humanity to it. And with Gaucho, I think there was just such a push to get it exactly the way they heard it in their heads that a lot of the humanity got pushed out of it. And when you read, you don't have to know about all the stuff that they did to make the record, but when you read it about all the crazy shit that they did to try to get that level of perfection, you can see how it sort of loses a little bit of the fire, and how by the end of it, I'm sure both of them were like, I don't want to fucking do that again, right? Like it's just too much. But it does sound great. In some ways, it is. You could argue it's the best sounding record, but I'm going to put it at number 2. It's got Bernard Purdie on a track,
Right.
And for me, I think Babylon Sister is the standout track on this one. It's also I think it's only 8 songs, right? It's a shorter
Short.
record.
Not as sure as Pretzel Logic, but yeah.
Yeah, not as short as Pretzel Logic, but
Thankfully.
for the big 4. But I like this record. I'll listen to it. I actually even have like some crazy ass DVD surround mix of it.
Yeah, I have that too.
But it's really good. It's not my favorite, but it is a strong and tight number 3, and this is one of their records that I can put on and listen to all the way through and enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, I actually came late to Gaucho because it was the record where I felt like the humanity had been sanded away. It sounded like too perfect, Asia came close to that, but Gaucho really just went way over the line.
Yeah,
for
there's
my
something
team.
about Gaucho. It's like it's labored over, right? Like
And then-
it's not just great players, but it's like a Stanley Kubrick movie. And on a related note, Kubrick was one of those directors that would make actors do like 50 takes.
Right.
To the point at the end where they're just like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. And he's like, you're almost there. And I think that's a great way of looking at Gaucho. By all accounts, it was just take after take after take after take for all of these people.
Yeah. And then
overcooked.
Gaucho's the one where they accidentally erased second arrangement, right? There was a song that an engineer lost, and then it was and then they rediscovered a rough mix at some point. But anyway, so that must have been hard.
No, they had a backup copy of it. They just the backup copy wasn't good enough for Gaucho. That's the story that I heard.
Okay.
Of course, the engineer ran off a backup reel, right, as you do, but they didn't want the backup reel wasn't going on the record. Not good enough for mastering.
Okay. So I came late to Gaucho, but as an adult, I've come back to it, and I appreciate it more now. I think that especially just the world has changed and music has changed, and we're not as prejudiced against sequencers and things as in 1980, it was still the era of disco sucks, and still the era of real musicians play guitars and don't rock snobs looking down on hip hop, and which wasn't even called hip hop yet. And so with the benefit of a lot of hindsight, a lot of the things that turned me off about Gaucho when I was a teenager are no longer issues. I've grown as a human being, and I can appreciate Gaucho.
I think that's pretty astute, Rich. It's kind of like it is really the beginning of the 80s, right? The technology and the drive for making it sound perfect has finally pushed past the let's make a good record and let's have good players.
Yeah. What's your number 2 record, JP?
Number 2 for me is Asia.
Okay.
Which is there's not I don't know what you could say bad about Asia. It's pretty much it's sort of a perfect record.
You could say that fewer people choose to listen to "I Got the News" than any of the other songs, but
Although it has Michael McDonald on it, so
No, "I Got the News" is incredible. They're all. Every song on that record is incredible. Yeah, the You'll Hear It podcast did an episode on Asia recently. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's 2 jazz piano guys. It's Peter Martin and Adam Manis. Both great players. And Peter Martin said that side 2, kind of falls over with "Home at Last" and "I Got the News." And I was like, what? Went into the comments. I was like, "Home at Last" is incredible, scientifically proven. You cannot say anything bad about "Home at Last." He replied. He had a good sense of humor about it. I forgot what it was, but he riffed on the scientifically proven kind of part. Anyway, you can't say anything bad about any song on Asia. I agree.
Yeah, it's sort of a perfect record. It sounds perfect. The songs are all great. Really hard to argue with.
So Anna, the way your eyebrows went up, I guess Asia is not number 2 for you. I guess number 2 for you, therefore, must be
Katie lied.
okay. Yeah.
Katie Lied's number 2 for me, and it really comes down to the fact that first of all, Michael McDonald and the songs on Katie Lied are just so good.
Yeah.
For my money, it is arguably the best set of songs on, well, almost any of their records. I mean, Black Friday, Bad Sneakers, Doctor Wu, Everybody's Gone to the Movies, Any World That I'm Welcome To. Like, come on, all great. And Rick Derringer plays a guitar solo on Chain Lightning. You got Larry Carlton. Got, as always, it's like top-notch players on here. But for me, that record's number 2. I like the cover and the little joke with that. But as with all of these records, like, again, it's tightly clustered in quality, but it's just, for me, a bunch of bangers, like great songs, one after the other. Very easy to listen to. It makes me want to sing along with it. The standout for me is probably Dr. Wu. But Any World That I'm Welcome To is probably the close second. But it's my number 2, and I love this record. It was almost number 1.
Do you you mentioned that you recommend people don't look up lyrics and don't find out what songs are about. So I have to ask though. Do you know what Everyone's Gone to the Movies is about?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right.
Yes, I do. And this is one of the things. It's like that's part of why I feel it's important for people to discover their own meanings about these things. You can look these things up, but again, like, I like the fact that their stuff is sort of cryptic and slangy and written in their own language, but you get a sense that something is not right in a lot of these songs.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately why, to kind of roll it back to the beginning for a second, part of why I'm not such a fan of Everything Must Go and Two Against Nature. Those songs, it's like almost like a sanitized version of Steely Dan, right? Like, on some of these other records, they're singing about as they put it, chasing jailbait. And on Everything Must Go and Two Against Nature, they're singing things like, oh, I don't want to have lunch with this person.
Well, I mean, it's a good point. That, I don't know how true it is across all the records, but like, What a Shame About Me, like, the lyrics are just really, they are what they are. There's not a whole lot. Whereas, like,
yeah, and that's okay.
Like you're talking about, like, slangy and everything. Like, like I was thinking, oh yeah, like the way they sort of made up the term "battle apple" for Josie. That's not like
right. Or looking at, again, we were talking about the things I miss the most, and it's a very typical list song. And the joke is that normally if you write a song about someone, what do I miss the most about? You'd be like, I miss your kisses, and I miss your eyes, and I miss blah, blah, blah. And 21st century Steely Dan is like, I miss our stuff. And it's like, okay, that's clever, but it's not anywhere near the kind of cleverness and darkness and squickiness of their best lyrics on any of their 70s albums.
I mean, Cousin Dupree was pretty dark.
Yeah.
But I agree. Yeah, I get your point. I agree with you.
What are the best and worst songs on Asia, or is that something you can't even pick?
For me?
I can't.
Yeah, so for me, Asia is absolutely it's my number 1 record at the moment. I think it's pretty spectacular. It sounds great. I love the electric piano. The songs are all super strong. Love the starkness of the cover design, which was not designed by Phil Hartman, as some people claim.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, there was because he was an album cover designer, and he designed a whole bunch of 70s rock albums. This was not one of them.
Yeah, like the Crosby, Stills, and Nash logo, he designed that thing. With like the C and S and
Phil Hartman
did a whole bunch of them. Yeah, but anyway, for Asia, it's like, look, you want to know what the best song is? It's Deacon Blues.
Oh yeah, I've heard you say that.
It's just Deacon Blues. Like, that would be my number 1 track, but I don't, it's hard to pick a number 1 because there are, again, so many great songs on there. But look, if you have a record where side 1 is Black Cow, Asia, and Deacon Blues, I'm just like, okay, I'm Costanza-ing out. It's like, thank you.
It's an excellent point. And then side 2 has, Peg and Home at Last on it.
And Josie, it's got I got the news too.
Basically every track's a complete banger.
Exactly. It's in some ways, this is for me, if Hey 19 is like the definitive song, this is the definitive album. If I was going to throw one album at somebody and say, hey, you want to understand Steely Dan, I'd just be like, listen to this record.
Yeah,
in some ways, it's the only one that you need, but they're all of these last 4 or 5 have been so good.
Yeah. So most days Asia would be my top. It's the one I had on over and over and over again, nonstop rotation in high school and stuff like that, and into college even. Once I got to college, Pretzel Logic was that way, believe it or not, and I think that's a big part of why I love that record more than most people do, just because very formative years. But JP, Asia's your number 2 record. Did you want to try to name a favorite and least favorite track, or you just want to skip? Take a pass.
It's hard to pick. It's one where it's hard to pick a favorite, right? Because there's just so many good. I would say I love Peg. I love Black Cow. Asia is obviously epic. If I had to pick the worst one, it's probably I Got the News. But then you got Michael McDonald in there, sort of bringing that thing. It's impossible. It's just a great record.
Yeah, worst song on Asia is
great song,
like a 97 out of 100.
Right.
It's like I would love to have to write and record and create a track as great as I Got the News. Like I would like apex of my life, Yeah. Okay, so that means your number 1 record, JP, must be
The Royal Scam.
Yeah. All right. And what are the reasons? I talked about it earlier. What I thought, but
so the guitar stuff that you said, I think all probably rings true, and I play guitar, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I never really put that together. To me, it's my favorite, and it's again by a hair, right? But if I had to pick a favorite, it's Royal Scam for the same reason that if you ask me what's my favorite Van Halen record, my favorite Van Halen record is Fair Warning, because it's so dark. And Steely Dan's kind of they're cynical and dark to begin with, but this one just sort of takes it to a whole other level, and for some reason I love that.
Right on. What's your favorite on it?
Don't Take Me Alive is my favorite on that record.
That's solid. What's your least favorite?
Probably The Royal Scam.
I might agree that I love Royal Scam, the song, but I agree that it doesn't much like Showbiz Kids for me, it doesn't really go anywhere. And
right.
And if it was half as long, I love the trumpet that shows up. I love all the things they do to keep it interesting. But it's does it need to end the record? Does it need to be that long? Probably yes and yes. But I don't know. If I had to lose one track, it might be that. I don't know. We can't talk about Steely Dan for an hour without mentioning Chuck Rainey. So I just want to say Chuck Rainey. Okay, take it away on it.
I agree that the Royal Scam's a pretty dark record. I think a lot of Steely Dan records are particularly dark, and part of what I like about them is that sort of shading and that sense of lives kind of souring or sliding sideways or things like that. And sometimes they're very direct about that, and other times it's just sort of alluded to. And given how old these guys were when they were making those records, there's a little bit of it being sort of a pose or a projection or a critique. And again, there's a big difference between them being this age and then them being, in their 50s and 60s or whatever they were when they were making Everything Must Go and Two Against Nature. I think Asia's, pretty close to a perfect record, but, I could say that about Katy Lied or Gaucho or even Royal Scam. These are all pretty tightly clustered. And while I would put Asia and Katy Lied as slightly better just because I like the songs more. It's really just it's a question of what resonates for you in the songs melodically, harmonically, and lyrically, but also how much of a personal relationship you have with the records. And I just know Asia and Katy Lied a little bit more. And the other thing I think is remarkable about these guys is they really staked out something that was unique. Nobody else ever sounded like this without sort of putting it in quotes and being like, let's do something that sounds like Steely Dan. And at the same time, it's like, this is not jazz, right? Like it's rock. There's some great playing on it. There's some fancy chords and whatnot, but like, I'm sort of at a loss of like pointing at a specific band that came before them and being like, oh, they were trying to do this. And the fact that they so quickly locked into something that was so distinctive and just drove forward that way. I can't make music like this. And it's not necessarily the thing that I go to put on a lot of times, but I have nothing but respect for these guys. Like, it's so smart and clever at times, sometimes too smart and clever for its own good, but the musicianship is undeniable. The vision is undeniable. I get a sense that there is no compromise for them with any of this stuff. And at the same time, you read these interviews, little bits of things, and I find myself just hilariously amused with how obsessed they got about the dumbest on these records.
I mean, Steely Dan is one of my favorite bands. So like this is a cool one. I like the Police too. The Police, I don't know the catalog as deep. I mean, I know it deeper than I thought that I knew it, because there wasn't a song on any of that I didn't know. But Steely Dan, with the exception of like the later records, I've just played it so many times. This was a really fun one to do.
Well, I would agree. It was a real pleasure to go back and listen to all of these records again, like with sort of a fresh perspective.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed preparing for it, and it's been really fun talking with you guys about it. And yeah, until next time.
For Ranked and Filed, I'm Anu.
I'm Rich.
I'm JP.
We'll see you soon. And until then, keep filing and keep ranking.